Second topic has to do with Moshe having problems. He's having problems handling the situation of the Jewish people once they start the journey. So far, they've been a year in Har Sinai. The only national bad situation was the golden calf, which was very dire, no good. It was almost over. And as well as when the two sons of Aaron also died. Okay? But Moshe handled it. Moshe handled the golden calf, no problem. Okay? Even, having a whole discussion with God.
Yeah.
Okay?
But he's
handling it.
Right.
He doesn't say to God, I'm done. Okay? Here, it's just the beginning of the journey where they just start to leave.
Yeah.
Problems start. Yeah, because they're out of their comfort zone. They're out of their comfort zone, which is such a profound message. Okay? That life is a struggle. Real life is a struggle. Right? A dynamic life, the Torah life, a responsible life. Yeah, there's struggle. You want growth? You got to go through challenges, struggles, and uncomfortable situations. Yes, it's challenging. Yeah, but at the end, through this transition, you start to realize who you really, really are. Okay? You start to realize your strengths, your weaknesses, where you need to improve, where you also need to build on that you're already good at. And this way it gives you more meaning in life because you realize that your use suddenly is greater than what you thought before. You achieve something that you didn't think you could achieve. So this is something that the Jewish people are going to go through this whole 40-year journey. And of course, people are going to die out, and then you're going to have a newer generation that's going to take it to the next level, way beyond than the ancestors ever did.
Right.
So the people are complaining. They want food. They're tired of the man. They've been eating it for a year, whatever it was, and they're crying to their families. They're saying Mitzrayim was even better. We had better food there.
Fish.
The fish, the zucchini, the watermelon.
The melons.
Okay.
The onions.
So, a lot of things. Basically, also, whenever we humans want to complain, there's always room to complain. We're not so freely when it comes to giving compliments, and it's, a vice, not even a virtue. But we're definitely free. We're definitely more loose when it comes to criticism, when it comes to complaints, just like we had an episode today.
We're very prone. We're very prone.
Yes.
to complain.
We are, and it's not good. It's not good in the eyes of God, because when you do that, you don't realize the blessing that God is giving you. You're focusing on the lack and not the blessing of God.
So it's
so indirectly, it's a criticism to God. Indirectly, sometimes it is directly.
Sometimes it's directly. Yeah.
Here, it's a criticism to God that they're complaining.
Of course, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
So
sure.
Moshe says, "What did you give me this major task to do? What did I give birth to? Did I conceive them? Did I give birth to them? That I got to carry them around like a woman who nurses her child? I mean, what the figurative language is fascinating, right? Where am I going to give these people meat to eat? I don't know. Where?
What
they wanted beef.
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
It's like, God, I knew this was going to be hard, but I didn't think it was going to be this bad.
Because at this point, everything is on his head.
Yeah.
Okay? So God tells him, fine, grab 70 representatives of the Jewish people, because there were 70 families, right? And with their shoterav, meaning the people who are also in charge of making sure the people are following the law, all right, whatever customs they had, and come to the Ohel, come to Ohel Moed, and you're going to be there with them, and I'm going to inspire them through you. Okay?
The language is very interesting.
Very
Torah,
interesting language.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's very strange language, so
It
to
is.
speak.
It is.
Right?
Because
I'm
because
gonna
we're
disseminate. It's like
No.
from Moshe Rabbeinu, going to
No,
disseminate
it's not
from
something
you.
physical. It's just basically they're going to get inspiration to the fact of through the fact that you are a prophet that I can communicate directly, and you're with them. Okay, they're going to sense that. They're going to also feel inspired, also to also be able to have a leadership role, just like you, and they're going to be your assistants dealing with the matters of the people. So not everything is going to come to you. This also shows here again Moshe's anava, humility. Because usually when we have superheroes, be it modern or be it in the past, Roman or Greek or Babylonian, when you read their mythologies, the superhero never, ever demonstrates weakness. Never, ever demonstrates that he cannot do. No, I can do anything. You can do everything, you can do anything. Anything. Moshe says, I can't do this. What did you give me? Acknowledging our weaknesses is a strength. How? I know what I need to work on. I know what I need to improve, and I know my limits. When we when we know that we're limited, we humble ourselves. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't strive and you shouldn't, do your best in what it is that you're doing. I'm not saying that. No, but we definitely need to know that we do have limits, both intellectually and physically. We do. Not everybody is given certain talents, and not everybody is born in situations that they can propel themselves to become, a billionaire. It doesn't really matter what it is. But here Moshe is acknowledging he can't do it. So that's a sign of, again, anava, humility. And which is something fascinating. God says, don't worry. Tell them I'm going to feed them meat. They're going to get a lot of meat. Not 1, not 2, not 10, 30 days until it's going to come out of their nostrils. Basically, it's going to be something that they're going to be disgusted and they're going to despise. Now, the reaction that Moshe has is absolutely fascinating. Moshe says, hold on a second. I have just the males. I have 600,000 males, right, who are over the age of 20. And you're telling me that you're going to feed them meat for a whole month? If we take all the sheep and the calves that we have and slaughter them, right, it ain't going to be enough. And if, of course, he exaggerates the language with the fish when he says, if we take all the fish that they can find in the sea, obviously they were near. They were near a sea, by the way. Right? It ain't going to be enough. So what? Moshe's doubting God? Moshe's not doubting God, per se. Moshe is simply trying to understand through human reason, how is this naturally possible? Moshe is the most inquisitive mind. Moshe does not take things for granted, and he's not someone who has blind faith at all. And it begins when he first sees the so-called burning bush.
I'd say it starts even before that.
Mm-hmm.
It started when he was questioning his own identity, when he was standing in the palace watching the Jews being slaves, and he was questioning those things, those core fundamentals at that point.
Yeah, but there's nothing about God. Here I'm talking
We're
about
talking specifically questioning God.
Here I'm talking about. It's not questioning God. It's actually trying to understand how can we explain natural phenomena? How can you have a bush burning and it's not being consumed?
Right.
How's that possible?
Right. He was fascinated by it.
Same thing with here. He doesn't take it as, blah, 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 blah. He's not a dummy at all. Not only that, here the same thing he says, what? How can you provide all that?
Yeah.
Where are you going to get this from? It's not that the Jewish people didn't have, they had cattle, they did. But what, enough to feed this amount of people?
Right.
That's one of the reasons why he's able to have direct communication with God. his level of perception was not to take things for granted. He wants to understand clearly, right? How does God work within this universe? And not just have blind faith and not say, oh, because God can do it. That's a horrible answer. I mean, God can do it. Can't explain how God can do it. I think one of the great, we're living in the greatest time in human history of understanding the mechanics of the universe, both on the big scale and the microscopic scale. Absolutely fascinating. This is God's intelligence on display. This is what Moshe wanted to understand. The same thing is that I want to know how you relate.
It's like, how do you do it?
How do you do it?
What's your secret?
What is your relationship as how you're going to conduct yourself indirectly with humans? Again, that's why he has that capacity of prophecy. Because of because of this inquisitiveness that he had. The answer that God gives him says, absolutely, I love it. God tells him, Hayad alunai tiksar. What? You mean to tell me that my hand is not going to
be shortened?
It's not going to be able to provide? Ata tireh.
Yeah.
Now you'll see.
Now you'll see.
What's going to happen tomorrow? And of course, you have a wind and all that. See, through the forces of nature, God manifests his will, his strength, etc.
So I have a question, because intertwined with the story of the people complaining and God giving them the meat is the story of Moshe Rabbeinu appointing the 70, and the story, and also the point that the 70 then congregate at Ohel Moed, they receive prophecy, and then Yoshua comes up to Moshe Rabbeinu and says,
Eldad Medad.
Eldad Medad. There are
Two guys.
Two guys who continue to prophesy after everyone else got up and left. There are two guys who stayed.
Kelaem, imprison them.
And Moshe Rabbeinu tells them, no. What?
He says what? In other words, are you jealous for me? Right?
Yeah.
Then Moshe says, I hope that all of the Jewish people will have nevuah and become nevi'im. That's another sign of his humility.
Right. It's like if only. So my question is why are these two stories intertwined with each other? What's the relationship between the two?
Struggle.
Okay, people struggle. The Am Yisrael struggle with their desires. And
Moshe struggling also.
Moshe struggle also.
Yeah. So what is it, in order to be able to overcome struggle, what do you need?
Is it laying out the two different paths of dealing with the struggle? One path is to overindulge in whatever desire that you're trying.
That's not how you deal with the struggle.
That's what happens to Am Yisrael.
And look what happened later.
Right.
They got punished.
Right.
So that is not. They dealt with it horribly, but both are trying to deal with the struggle that they're having. Okay, it's a challenge. Mm-hmm. Right. So why is it that the Jewish people failed in that struggle? Whereas the Shivim Zekinim, the 70 elders, will eventually become the Supreme Court of the Jewish people, they succeeded. Why? One is following the path of indulgence and strictly to quell and their lust for something physical. That is not godly at all. That's pure Yetzer Hara. Period. Hedonism. Okay? And it doesn't end there. Okay? Whereas the other case with the 70 elders, what did they need in order to overcome?
Prophecy.
Inspiration. That's it. When God is involved in the formula of our problem resolutions, when God is involved in the formula of how am I going to achieve my goal because I'm going through a challenge, if God is part of that with me, I'll succeed. It doesn't mean that I will get the exact result that I'm looking for. No. We need to have humility. But I'll make the right decisions as to how God would instruct me to make the decision. Because a decision always has yes or no. A decision is usually right, wrong, good or evil, immoral, immoral, beneficial, non-beneficial. It's pretty much that. So if God is part of that equation, then I should be confident that things are going to turn out okay, because that's God's blessing to me. That is, that's what we need, mitzvot, reminders. That's what we need tefillah.
Right.
All these little.
Right. What's funny is that in both instances, God is providing in both instances, but what are the people doing with what they're provided? Right? Meaning to say that it could have been that if the people were more tame, so to speak, they could have taken the meat, they could have said thank you, do korbanot, whatever, right? And have been grateful, not stuffed their faces. And that would have been receiving the blessing from HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a positive manner, even if it is material. But you're saying, but what you're doing with this material good is that you're sanctifying it and saying that it's for something greater than just quelling your desires.
Greater than you.
And that's where the people failed.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind, still the people just left Egypt about a year and a few months ago.
They're still adjusting.
They're still adjusting to this whole idea of we have this total freedom and we have this enormous quantity. Guess what? They behaved in a way that's like anarchy. Now we understand also why, without law, be it from God, or be it in a society that has just laws, there's anarchy, there's chaos. Oh boy. We do not want to be in a place where there's no law and that the rule of law is not respected.
Mob. We don't want the mob rule.
And it's only, it only relates to us humans. Only us. Because we have this power of free will.
Right.
We know, we know good and evil. We know.
Yeah.
So we're in danger. Okay? I'm going to use one of the most beautiful lines that really I've ever read by Professor Heschel in one of his books. He writes so profound, because he speaks about this whole free will and good and evil and how we have this power. He says, man can be the most beautiful dream for God. And man can also be God's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
How many times? And this, yeah. Just that formula is
It
powerful.
encapsulates free will in such a powerful manner, and especially during the time that he lived through as well.
Yes.
Seeing World War, having to escape Germany, seeing World War II, seeing what was going on in Russia,
the horrors,
yeah, seeing the horrors, living with the people who escaped and hearing their horrors. You can only imagine.
So what is the Torah trying to lead us to? It's trying to make us, God's beautiful vision of us.
Right.
It's challenging, yeah, because we're finite and we have a very powerful Yetzer Hara and physical needs that we have. Yes, so therefore we have these regulations, and the covenant and these regulations are in agreement with God, not with man. This is again.
So I want to go back to this point that you spoke about before with the interpreting interpreter. I think that it's also important that the interpretation of the world that we take, that we understand the world and we interpret it through a lens of the Torah. Meaning to say that when you're talking about the interpreter system and the interpreted system, right? Torah shebichtav is interpreted, and we are the ones who interpret what's in the Torah shebichtav.
Yes.
Right? So there's a Torah shebe'al peh as well. I think this is something that we spoke about many times that expands just beyond the book.
Yes.
It expands into how we perceive the world and the universe itself. And when we interpret the world through the lens of whether God is at the center, and I think we touched upon this in prior episodes, God is at the center, or is the human at the center? And that's where we start our interpretation with. The paths deviate so much from one another that there's nothing in between.
No, there's no gray area.
There's no gray area with how you interpret it. So when you start interpreting the world, and we're constantly interpreting the world, we're interpreting people's actions, we're interpreting what we read online, we're interpreting videos that we watch on YouTube. It doesn't matter. The interpretation is constant, whether we like it or not. And it's a question of how aware will we be of it, and what mechanism will we use in order to refine our capacity to interpret in a more godly way than not.
That is why God gave the Torah to humanity.
We needed it.
Absolutely.
We needed it.
Or else we would have self-destructed. Once we became super conscious of ourselves, of the abilities that we have beyond hunters and gatherers, the ability that we have with our mind, the use of the mind to create civilizations, create languages, create mathematics, create technologies. What are we going to use it for now? Because we know we have the power of this choice that we can make. So we can use all that we've created and done for good or evil. That can be on a national scale, on a world scale, civilization, as well as in personal lives. One's own home, one school, one community, one little town, one little village, it doesn't matter. On an airplane, it doesn't matter. Imagine on an airplane, the pilot says, you know what, I hate humanity. I'm going to crash because I hate humanity. Go convince him otherwise in the middle of flight. It's amazing how we trust these people to do what they do for us.
I mean, from any lens, whether it's just the food that we eat, right?
So
Can
many
you imagine,
things.
Can you imagine?
So many things.
Yeah.
You go to a restaurant. How do you know?
No idea.
How do you know? Again, I discuss this with my students often in high school, and they're like terrified. I said, relationships, the core value of any relationship, it doesn't matter big or small, is trust.
Yeah.
If you don't have trust, everything breaks down.
Yeah.
And I give them really stark examples. I go to them, you guys just came from lunch from the cafeteria. How do you guys don't know that they didn't poison that food? How do you know? Because we had hundreds of kids eating. Just one maniac, just one, not the crew of 20. One maniac is going to poison the food, and guess what? Either you're going to die or you're going to be in the hospital. How easy is it? More than this, which one of you, I tell them like this, which one of you today can be 100% sure you're going to go home? Initially, when they say, oh, all of us, I go, stop. How do you know? How do you know when you're going to get into that car, you're going to make it home?
Even before you get to the car. Yeah.
So, don't we have a trust factor that we trust that in general people are going to respect the laws of driving? But guess what? Sometimes there's a maniac, that will go through a red light and in an intersection and crash and kill someone.
Yeah.
I go, how often does that happen? That happens. Where some guy is speeding like a lunatic and he's a young driver or whatever it is and he crashes. So if we didn't have trust in society, even more, how can we trust when it comes to business? I go to the store, I'm buying that. How do I know that what it is that I'm buying is 100% is really the thing that I'm really buying? It could be something totally different. I don't know. So it's the trust factor.
Right.
So law protects that trust factor within our society. Right? And what's interesting is this goes to prehistoric times and hunters and gatherers times. they have their own basic trust factor that if they're going to do the hunt, we're going to trust each other that everybody's going to do the task that needs to bring them the animal. And when the woman would go out to the field and gather what they need to do, we're going to trust that they're going to go to the right place and make sure that they're not going to bring any leaves or herbs that are going to be poisonous because they knew the difference, or berries, and they're going to eat. So this is something very ancient, that in order for there to be cohesion in society, we had to have that trust values. Comes civilizations, we need something more than just, oh, we trust each other. No. We need to protect this trust factor.
It's sacred.
With laws.
Right.
As well as with rituals even.
Well, it's an embodiment of the trust, that because you're sacrificing to something greater, but you're doing it alongside people with you.
Yeah. And comes the Torah later on.
Yeah.
Right? And solidifies this trust between God and man and man and man. That's it.
It's fascinating.
No, it is.
No, it's a fascinating concept. I think about that element so much. Trust. It's really the basis of everything.
It's the basis of all relationships.
It's the basis of all relationships.
Oh.
Well,
Not love, not liking, not even hesed, not even tzedakah. No. First, there has to be a trust factor, even when it comes to those things.
well, it undergirds it, because if you don't trust if someone does a kindness to you, you could be skeptical of the kindness and say, I don't trust this guy. I think he's trying to manipulate me, trying to get me.
Yeah. He's giving me some food.
What a nice guy. Or you could say, I don't know about that. I don't know.
Again, Baruch Hashem, really, we're living in times, as well as in countries, that it's not thought of, right? It's like an underlying subconscious thing that
It's assumed.
we just assume.
There's an.
Yeah.
I mean,
unless somebody breaks it, right? And so therefore, unless somebody breaks it, we got a problem. So
right.
do you know why we think this way?
It would be crazy.
We'd be
otherwise.
paranoid.
We couldn't live with each other if
We
didn't
would be
have it.
psychotic. We'd be psychotic. Everything would not function. Nothing would function.
Nothing would function.
Nothing would function.
Nothing would function. No.
Okay? Even I give my students another example. I go, isn't it amazing that we're in this beautiful little room? Why is it that you trust that this roof ain't going to collapse on your head right now? Because we trust that the engineers and the construction, they followed the code.
Yeah.
That the city came and inspected and made sure that the concrete and that the steel and the beams and everything. I go, even in your house. Everything. I go, everything. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. we need it. No, we need it. 100%.
Okay, so I think the second subject of the parasha we discussed of Moshe, like saying, hold on a second, God, I want to understand how you're going to do this. And it's something that we should also do. Science comes to explain to us how is it that God created this fascinating universe. How does it work? How did it come to be? And we shouldn't just say, oh, it's just there. No, that's blindness. God does not want blindness. God wants inquisitive minds. And we're living, again, it's every day lately, new things. I'll give you an example. So I did a pit stop at Dr. Kensberg's house on Shabbat, and we were talking. And he was explaining to me some new device that he came up with, invented, and with a company that what he does, now he can do it with perfection because the electrical pulse that it emanates to the cell that he wants to take out, that's a bad cell in the cells in the heart,
Okay.
can be completely destroyed. Because the tool that he invented is instead of 2,000 something electrical, it's 20,000.
Oh wow!
And it's something that is showing major success. And they're now going to start experimenting this with cancer cells to see if it works. So I go to him, So what was really the problem with the 2000 to the 20,000? He goes, the problem with the 2000 is that since, this is fascinating, since when the cell would be zapped with the 2000 tool, it still had very, like fractions of seconds, right, to repair itself.
To regenerate.
To repair itself.
Wow.
And they weren't able to
fully
take it out.
eliminate it.
Right.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
This device, it doesn't give it enough time to do it because it's so powerful. He goes, and he goes, I'm dealing with nanosecond. That's the sweet spot. He goes, but what's interesting is this. We tried to do it in a fraction of a nanosecond, the same thing, it didn't work. So the sweet spot was in between. I go, this is fascinating. It's as if the cell knows. He goes, it's not, it doesn't know, whatever, but that's how it works.
That's its function.
That's how it works. I go, and what makes the cell do what it does to regenerate or repair itself? He goes, electricity.
Oh, wow.
I go, there's electricity. He goes, we have electricity in our whole body. The heart beats because of electricity. Our neurons, electricity. So I go to him, explain to me, how is it that we have electricity in our body, in our cell? So explain to me that there's 3 chemicals in our bodies, right? That is ions, but I don't know 90% what he's talking. I don't know. Okay, but it's fascinating. I'm listening to him saying, "Oh my gosh," I'm listening. I'm saying, "God," I'm saying, "Ba'olam." Listen, he's telling me what God created. He goes to me, and that's how come we have this and that. I go, so you want to tell me because we have these 3 chemicals that work in unison that makes electricity in our body, that makes our cells work? And he goes, yes. I go, can you explain to me how those 3 chemicals, organic chemicals, figured this out to make our bodies alive with this? He goes, no one can explain that. It's God. And I go to him, how can anybody think that this all came to be on its own, just chemicals, whatever?
It's like now more than ever.
He goes, it's impossible. It's impossible that this came out of on its own. It can't be. And this is what I say. I go, today to say that it all came out of pure fluke and chance of improbabilities and impossibilities is unreasonable than to say that there's
got to be something behind
something behind this that makes this all work, and we say it's Alonai.
Yeah.
That's more reasonable because we see how everything in this universe, including our own bodies and cells, it's not one thing, it's systems that work within systems that make everything work. That is complexity, that's sophistication. There's nothing simple in the universe.
No.
Everything has to be purely fine-tuned.
Yeah.
So fine-tuned for there to be that equilibrium. You take that tuning off a little bit, things start to go haywire.
And that's what Moshe really, that's the point of Moshe. Questioning and trying to figure out more and trying to understand more. But again, he's coming from a place of knowing what his base is, which is God.
Yes.
Right? That's the difference. Yes. Again, that's the difference.
Understanding how does God make the universe function,
right,
including the natural phenomena. How?
Yeah. So it's not just to say, how does this work? I think it's probably more accurate to say, how did God manifest this to work?
Correct.
It's more accurate, and I think it brings a lot more meaning as opposed to, oh, how does this work? Oh, it works because X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. No, there's...
Look, so many of the verses and chapters in Tehillim are speaking about the beauty and the wonders of nature. And that's, you're going back 3,000 years ago, that they saw things strictly by visual observation. Today, there are worlds and worlds of worlds all around us. The microscopic, the microbial, it's a world, it's a universe within itself. Like it's in our bodies, it's on our bodies, it's everywhere.
It's amazing. Yeah. No, it's incredible.
Okay.
Yeah.
So